Hello everyone, welcome to the session of Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants, NEET PYQs. Disclaimer: the images, text and other material used in our presentations are for educational purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners. If you are the owner and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathi@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the content immediately. Please note that the parts of the content may have been generated using generative AI, which is totally experimental. So today's learning objective: to practice and master the core concept covered in the NEET PYQs for problem solving. So today we are going to solve the NEET PYQs questions from the chapter Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants. So the first question is here: which of the following statement is not true? Okay. Which of the following statement is not true? So this is a statement based question, and this question is from the section NCERT book, NCERT section 1.2. This question has been asked in year 2016 in the NEET examination, right? So let us see the statement and then we will see which is the incorrect one, right? So options are as follows. A, tapetum helps in dehiscence of anther. Tapetum helps in the dehiscence of anther. B, exine of pollen grain is made up of sporopollenin. Okay, exine of pollen grain is made up of sporopollenin. C, pollen grains are mainly species, in many species causes severe allergies. And option D says stored pollen in the liquid nitrogen can be used in the crop breeding programs. So out of these, you have to see which is the incorrect statement. Which statement is the incorrect, right? So in the given time, you can check out the correct answer and then we will discuss about the correct answer, right? Okay, let's move to the answer section of this question. So this was our question. Which one of the following statement is not true, right? So the first statement, look at the first statement, what it is saying. Tapetum helps in the dehiscence of the anther. What is the function of tapetum? The tapetum layer provides nourishment to the developing embryo. It provides nourishment to the developing embryo. It is not going to help in the dehiscence of the anther, right? So the microsporangium is having the sporogenous tissue in the center and it is surrounded by the 4 different types of walls, right? 4 different types of the layers of the wall. So the outermost is the epidermis, then comes the endodermis, then there are 3 to 4 middle layers. And then comes this tapetum layer. Now this tapetum layer is there to provide nourishment to the developing microspores. Okay? It is there to provide nourishment to the microspores. The rest of the 3 walls, the epidermis, the endodermis and the middle layers, they are responsible for the dehiscence of the anther. They are responsible for the dehiscence of the anther, not the tapetum layer, right? So let us see the explanation part of this wrong statement. Tapetum is important for the nutrition and the development of the pollen grain. Means it is concerned for the nutrition of the developing microspores or the pollen grains, right? As well as it is a source of precursor for the pollen coat. The pollen coat is made up of which material? The exine layer. The exine layer is made up of sporopollenin. And that sporopollenin, the sporopollenin biomolecule is coming from this tapetum layer only, right? So, you know how exine is important for the pollen grain, right? So, that layer is also made up of made by this tapetum layer only. So not only it is providing the nourishment to the developing microspores, as well as it is providing the protection to the microspores, right? But the dehiscence of the anther, which layers are responsible for the dehiscence of the anther? Epidermis, endodermis, and the middle layers. Okay. So here you can see in the diagram, even the epidermis layer is there, the endodermis and the middle layer. These three layers are involved in the dehiscence of anther. But this tapetum layer, it is providing nourishment or nutrition to the developing microspore. Okay, let's move to our next question. Seed formation without fertilization in flowering plants involves the process of. This question is based on the NCERT section 1.5, right? So they're talking about the formation of the seed without any fertilization, So this question was asked in year 2016 in the NEET examination, right? And let us see the option. Option A, sporulation, B, budding, C, somatic hybridization, and D, apomixis. So seed formation without fertilization in flowering plants, it occurs through which process? You have to tell that it occurs through which process. So the 4 options you can see and you can opt the correct option. So in the given time, the time is given here, right? So in the given time, you can judge about the correct option and then we will see which option is the right one, right? Okay, let's see the correct answer. So this was our question. Seed formation without fertilization in flowering plants involves the process of, right? The formation of seed without fertilization. So, which option is correct? You can even write it in the chat box. Yes? Okay. So the correct option is option D, apomixis. Apomixis, formation of seed without any fertilization, Let us see the explanation part of this answer. Apomixis is what? Asexual seed formation. There is a formation of seed by the sexual method also, but this apomixis is the asexual method of seed formation. It is the result of the plant gaining the ability to bypass the most fundamental aspect of the sexual reproduction. So there are the 2 fundamental aspects of the sexual reproduction. Number 1, meiosis. Meiosis is very, very important because in the process of meiosis, what happens? There is a formation of gametes, right? There is a formation of gametes, the male gametes and the female gametes. So that is not occurring in the apomixis. And the second thing that it also bypass, that is the fertilization process. So the fertilization process is also not occurring here. So both these processes, meiosis and fertilization, will not be there. So there will be no haploid gametes, right? No haploid gamete, because the haploid gametes are formed by the process of meiosis only, right? So without the need for the male fertilization, the resulting seed germinate a plant that develops into the maternal clone. So the seeds that is developed by the apomixis, it will be totally identical to the maternal plant, because only the tissue of this, you can say the nucellus cells are involved. And what is the ploidy of the nucellus cell? It is diploid. And without megaspore formation, it develops into the embryo sac. So all the cells of the embryo sac will be diploid. The antipodals will be diploid. The synergid will be diploid. The egg will also be diploid. And this diploid egg later on develops the embryo. And that embryo is diploid, but that is totally made up of that female cell. Female cell means the cells of the nucellus, right? There is no involvement of the male gamete here. So that is why it is called as maternal clone. So here you can see the apomixis, and here you can see the nucellus is there. One of the nucellus cells forms this gamete, and there could be the number of gametes, and all the gametes are diploid, right? The nucellus cells involved in the formation. In even sometimes the diploid egg is there that forms the embryo, right? But that is totally the maternal clone. Okay, let's move to our next question. Functional megaspore in an angiosperm develops into. Functional megaspore in an angiosperm develops into. This question is based on the NCERT section 1.2, and this question has been asked in the NEET examination 2017, right? Let us see the option first. A, endosperm. B, embryo sac. C, embryo. And D, ovule. So you have to tell the functional megaspore in an angiosperm develops into which structure? Which structure will develop from the functional megaspore? Whether it is an endosperm, it is embryo sac, or embryo, or D, ovule, right? So in the given time, you can check about the correct answer, and you can write the correct answer in the chat box, okay? And then we will see the correct answer, okay? So this was our question, and the correct answer is embryo sac. The functional megaspore, okay, in an angiosperm develops into the embryo sac. It will develops into the embryo sac. So in angiosperm, the megasporocyte produce the megaspore. We all know that there are 4 megaspores. And out of these 4, 3 get degenerated. You all know that. We have already discussed in the theory classes in a detail, right? So 3 get degenerated and only 1 becomes the functional. So that develops into the embryo sac. Through 2 distinct processes. First is the megasporogenesis. In megasporogenesis, one of the nucellus cells undergo meiosis process and it forms the 4 megaspores. So this is the megasporogenesis. Formation of the megaspore into the nucleus and the megagametogenesis. Now there is a formation of megagametogenesis. 1 megaspore will transform into the embryo sac. 1 embryo sac, right? So next question is here. A dioecious flowering plant prevent both. This is from this NCERT section 1.2. And This question has been asked in 2017. So the dioecious flowering plant prevent what? Let us see the option. A, autogamy and geitonogamy. Dioecious plant is preventing A, autogamy and geitonogamy, B, geitonogamy and xenogamy, C, cleistogamy and xenogamy, and D, autogamy and xenogamy. Right? So these are the options. So in the given time, you can check about the correct answer, right? Okay, let's move to the answer part of this question. So, a dioecious flowering plant prevent both autogamy and geitonogamy. It is preventing both autogamy and geitonogamy. Let us see how it is preventing these two phenomena. So, autogamy occur in the bisexual flower. Bisexual flower means the flower which contain both the male reproductive organ as well as the female reproductive organ. The male and female both reproductive organs are present in that bisexual flower. Now the gaetonogamous flower are the unisexual but present in the same plant. Okay. So these are the unisexual flower but they are present on the same plant, right? Dioecious condition. So here in the question you see it is written dioecious flowering plant. So what is the meaning of dioecious condition? It is observed when the unisexual male and female flowers are present on the different plant. It means that there are the two plants. On one plant, the male flower is there. Only male flower. So that whole plant is having many flowers, but all that flower are male only. Now, similarly, we are having the second plant. Now, this second plant is also having many flowers and all the flowers are female. So, we can say that one plant is male and one plant is female like this. Like we see in the case of papaya. The papaya is having one separate male plant and one separate female plant. So, male plant will having the male flower only and the female plant will have the female flower only. Now, these plants are called as dioecious. Such plants are called as dioecious. Now, here there is only one option that there could be the cross-pollination. Cross-pollination. The pollen from the male flower is transferred to the stigma of the female flower and both the flowers are on the different plant. So, this is bypassing or you can say the preventing both autogamy and geitonogamy. Both autogamy and geitonogamy. So, in that case, our option A is correct, right? So, next question is here. Flower which have single ovule in the ovary and are packed into the inflorescence are usually pollinated by. So, this is one of the characteristic of a flower. Flower having single ovule in the ovary. Only one ovule is present in the ovary and are packed into inflorescence. And that flower is in the form of inflorescence. You all know the inflorescence? That there are the number of flowers, they are arranged on the axis. And it is a compact. All the flowers in a compact, okay? And that is called as inflorescence. And they are usually pollinated by. So this question is taken from based on the NCERT section 1.2 and this question is asked in year 2017 in the NEET examination. So the options are A, B, B, wind, C, bat and D, water. Okay, let's move to the answer part of this question. Flower which have single ovule in the ovary and are packed into inflorescence are usually pollinated by. This was our question, right? And the correct answer is wind. So the flower which are pollinated by wind, they are having single ovule in the ovary and they are packed into the inflorescence. They are packed into the inflorescence. So this is the feature of the flower in which the pollination is occurring with the help of wind. Let us see the explanation. Wind pollination or anemophily occur in the flower which are having single ovule in each ovary. There is a single ovule in each ovary and numerous flowers packed in an inflorescence. So it is a non-directional pollination. It is a non-directional pollination. Next question is here. Attractants and rewards are required for. I think this is one of the easy question, right? Attractants and rewards are required for. This question is based on the NCERT section 1.2 and this question has been asked in the NEET examination in the year 2017. So here you can see the options: A, entomophily; B, hydrophily; C, cleistogamy; and D, anemophily. Right? So attractants and rewards are required for in the case of entomophily, hydrophily, cleistogamy or anemophily. You all know what is entomophily? That is the flower that are pollinated by the insects. Hydrophily, pollination by water, with the help of water. Cleistogamy, the flower which are closed, not open. And D, anemophily, pollination by wind. Right? So attractant and rewards are required in which type of pollination? So in the given time, you can check about the correct answer and then we will see which option is correct one. Okay, let's move to the answer. So this was our question. Attractants and rewards are required for. So A, entomophily. Yes, answers are correct. Entomophily, right? Pollination with the help of insects. Let us see the explanation. Insect pollination provide. Insect pollinated plants provide rewards as an edible pollen grain and nectar as usual rewards, right? Because why these insects will visit to the flower? If they will not get anything, why they will visit? And there is a profit of this flowers that they get pollinated, right? So they have to provide something to these insects. So they produce some edible pollen, some nectars, and that is taken by the insect as a reward. So in order to materialize and maximize pollination, flowers have developed a set of attributes which are aimed at attracting the pollinators called attractant. What are attractants? The beautiful petals, the colorful petals, the large flowers. Actually, the insect pollinated flowers are large in size, big in size, right? And they are having very bright colors, petals. So that attracts the insects. Right? So that is why it is written in the question, attractants and rewards are required. And what is reward? You all know, pollen grains, edible pollen grains and the nectar, right? Okay, let's move to our next question. Which one of the following plants shows a very close relationship with a species of moth where none of the two can complete its life cycle without each other. This question has been taken from the section NCERT section 1.2.3. And this question was asked in the NEET examination year 2018, right? So what are the options? A. Hydrilla, B. Yucca, C. Viola, and D. Banana. So what they are saying that one of the species of a moth and the flower, okay, the flower, they are so like they are in a close relationship that if any one of is not present, the life cycle will be affected. The life cycle will not be completed of any of these two, right? So you can think about the correct answer and then we will check which of the option is correct one, right? So let us see the correct answer of this question. So which one of the following plants shows a very close relationship with a species of a moth where none of the two can complete its life cycle without each other, right? This was our question. And the correct answer is B, Yucca plant. Yes. In obligate mutualism, this is a mutualism phenomena, right? They both are benefited mutually. So one organism cannot survive without the other. Yucca have an obligate mutualism with the species called moth Pronuba. So this Pronuba moth, what does it do? It visit the flower Yucca, and in its ovarian cavity it get enter and lay its egg. Yes, moth deposit its egg in the Yucca plant. Yes, it deposit their egg in the Yucca plant, right? And when this egg hatch out and the larva comes out, the ovule turns into the seed. So what happened in that case? There is a process of fertilization by visiting this moth, right? So fertilization is there. It means the plant will form the next generation. And from the egg, the larva is also coming out. It means the next generation of the Pronuba moth will be there. So in that case, both are benefited. So that is the obligate mutualism, right? Very good. Moving to our next question. Pollen grains can be stored for several years in liquid nitrogen having a temperature of, so you have to tell the temperature. This question is based on the NCERT section 1.2 and it was asked in year 2018 in the NEET examination. So what are the temperature of this liquid nitrogen in which the pollen grains are stored? Let us see that. Option A, minus 120 degrees centigrade. B, minus 80 degrees centigrade. C, minus 160 degrees centigrade. And option D, minus 196 degrees centigrade. So, in the given time, you can check about the correct answer and then we will see which of the option is having the right answer. Okay, let's move to the correct answer. So this was our question. And the correct answer is option D. Option D, minus 196 degrees centigrade, right? So let us see the explanation part. Pollen grains can be stored for the several years in the liquid nitrogen and that is minus 196 degree centigrade, right? And this is the cryopreservation. Yes, the semen are also stored. The seeds are also stored in the seed bank. In the pollen bank, the pollens are stored, right? So this is the temperature at which the gametes the gametes are stored, right? Okay, let's move to our next question. Which of the following has proved helpful in preserving the pollen as a fossil? Okay, this question is based on the NCERT section 1.2, asked in year 2018 in the NEET examination. Let us see the options. A. Pollen kit. B. Cellulosic intine. C. Sporopollenin. And D. Oil content. Right? So, okay, answers are coming. Very good. So, in the given time, you can check the correct answer and then we will check out which of the option is having the correct answer. So let us move to the answer part of this question. Which of the following has proved helpful in preserving the pollen as fossil? Option C, sporopollenin is the correct answer. Yes. Sporopollenin cannot be degraded by any enzyme or a strong acid or the alkali. Therefore, it is helpful in preserving the pollen as a fossil. It do not allow any substances to destroy this pollen, so it is preserved in the form of fossil also, right? And one of the example, if you remember, the lupin was there, right? So here you can see the diagram. This is the exine part, right? This is the exine part and this is the intine part. Now this exine is having this sporopollenin. Now can anyone tell me which cell is responsible for making this sporopollenin? How this sporopollenin is coming out? From which cell? Which cell is responsible for making this sporopollenin? And what is pollen kit? One of the option was there, pollen kit. This also I have told you. The sporopollenin is coming from the tapetum layer only. The tapetum layer provide this sporopollenin and it get deposited and forms an outer covering that is called as exine. Yes, exine. Okay. So remember that tapetum layer is responsible for making this sporopollenin. Another question I asked about the pollen kit. This pollen kit is a sticky layer. Yes, very good. And this pollen kit is also made by this tapetum only, right? It provides the stickiness to the pollen so that it gets stick to the body of the insect, and that is helpful for its transfer from one flower to the another flower, right? So this pollen kit is also very important. Anyway, moving to our next question. This question is very important. So the ploidy level of nucellus, endosperm, polar nuclei, megaspore mother cell, female gametophyte respectively are. So you have to tell the ploidy level of all these, the cellular type of things like nucellus, endosperm, polar nuclei, megaspore mother cell, female gametophyte, right? And this question is based on our NCERT section 1.4. This question was asked in the year 2019 NEET examination. Let us see the option. Option A, 2N means the nucellus is 2N, endosperm 3N, like this way. 2N, 3N, N, 2N, N, N. B, 2N, 3N, 2N, N, and N. C, N, 2N, N, 2N, N. And D, 2N, 3N, 2N, 2N, and N, right? So you can think about the correct answer and then we will check out the correct option. So let's move to the answer part of this question. Ploidy level of the nucellus, endosperm, polar nuclei, megaspore, mother cell, female gametophyte respectively are. Option A is correct. 2n, 3n, and 2n and n. So nucellus is 2n diploid. Endosperm is triploid. Polar nuclei is not diploid, it is haploid. Polar nuclei is present in the central cell. 2 polar nuclei and both are haploid. Then megaspore mother cell undergo meiosis and forms the 4 megaspores. So this is also the diploid, right? And female gametophyte. What is the female gametophyte? Embryo sac. All the cell of the embryo sac are haploid. So this is the haploid structure. So remember, nucellus is a diploid, endosperm is triploid, polar nuclei. I think this polar nuclei made you the confused. So polar nuclei, that is present in the central cell of the embryo sac. And you all know all the nucleus, all the cells of the embryo sac, whether it is a antipodals, whether it is a synergid cell, whether it is egg, or the central cell which is having the 2 polar nuclei, all are haploid. So that will be N. Megaspore mother cell, one of the cell of the nucellus become differentiated, but it is still a diploid structure. And this megaspore mother cell undergo meiosis and give rise 4 megaspores. Out of these 4 megaspores, 3 get degenerated, only 1 become functional. That nucleus divide and redivide and forms the embryo sac. Right? Anyways, let us see the explanation part. So nucellus is diploid, part of the ovule, made up of the maternal tissue, and if it is made up of the maternal tissue, then it will be diploid only. Develops from the sporophytic tissue. Endosperm is formed by the fusion of 3 haploid nucleus, 2 polar nuclei and 1 male gamete, right? So it is a triploid. Forms after double fertilization. Result from the fusion of 1 sperm nucleus, that is haploid, and 2 polar nuclei, means N plus N. So when they both get fused, it will form the diploid 2N, and this N also fused with this 2N, and it will form the 3N triploid. Provide nutrition to the developing embryo, because this triploid endosperm is providing nutrition to the developing embryo. Polar nuclei, haploid. The 2 nuclei present in the central cell, each is haploid before fusion. Together they form 2N structure before fertilization. Megaspore mother cell, MMC, it is again a diploid, undergo meiosis to form haploid megaspore located in the nucellus. And the female gametophyte, that is also the embryo sac. All the cells are haploid, right? Develops from the functional megaspore. So this functional megaspore is haploid. So when these cells divide, it will form another haploid cell. So contain egg cell, synergid, antipodal and central cell, all are haploid. Okay, next question. Persistent nucellus in the seed is known as persistent nucellus. Don't get confused here. Persistent nucellus in the seed is known as. In 2019, the question is asked. A. Chalaza, B. Perisperm, C. Hilum, and D. Tegmen. So you can solve this question and then we can check out the correct answer. Let us move to the answer part of this question. Persistent nucellus in the seed is known as. B. Perisperm. Perisperm. In some seeds like black pepper and beet, you must remember these examples. Very important, right? So black pepper and beet, the remnants of the nucellus are persistent. This persistent nucellus is called as perisperm. So generally the nucellus is also used up in the developing embryo. Apart from the endosperm, nucellus is also used up. But in the case of beet and black pepper, this nucellus remains there. Some part of the nucellus remains there. So that remnant of the nucellus is called as, or you can say the persistent of the nucellus is called as perisperm. It is present in the seed in the form of a layer of nutritive tissue. Okay. Next question. What is the fate of the male gamete discharged in the synergid? So you all know the pollen tube enter inside the synergid and it releases all its content there, right? So male gametes, okay, NCERT section 1.3. This question is based on that part and asked in year 2019. So let us see the option A. One fuses with the egg and other degenerates in the synergid. B. All fuses with the egg. C. One fuses with the egg and other fuses with the synergid nucleus. And option D says one fuses with the egg and other fuses with the central cell nuclei. Right? Okay. So you can solve this question in the given time and then we can check out the correct answer. Okay, let's move to the correct answer. So this was our question. What is the fate of the male gametes discharged in the synergid, right? And option D is correct. Because there are the two male gamete, right? One fuses with the egg, that is called as syngamy. This fertilization is called as syngamy, and other fuses with the central nuclei. Central nuclei means two polar cell, okay? Two polar nuclei, not the polar cell, polar nuclei. So both the polar nuclei get fused together and this second male gamete also fuses with it, right? And it forms the primary endosperm nucleus pen. This is called triple fusion. Triple fusion because three haploid gametes are fusing together. Okay, let us see the explanation part of it. So in flowering plants, out of the two male gametes discharged in the synergid, one fuses with the egg and other fuses with the secondary or the definitive nucleus present in the central cell. So this is the another name for the polar nuclei. So egg, which is haploid, first male gamete fuses with it, it forms the zygote, right? Secondary nucleus, 2N and the two male gamete. This secondary nucleus is formed by the fusion of the two polar nuclei fused together, and now it is called as secondary nucleus. Now the second male gamete also fuses with it. So plus N. So N plus N plus N becomes 3N nucleus, endosperm nucleus, primary endosperm nucleus 3N. Right? So remember this secondary nucleus, don't get confused with it. Secondary nucleus means when the two polar nuclei fuse together and later on the male gamete also fuses with it. So for a very short duration of time, this N plus N structure means the two polar nuclei fuses together. So that is called as secondary nucleus. Okay. So here you can see the diagram is showing this pollen tube entering in the synergid cell. One is going to fertilize the egg. Here you can see one is going to fertilize in the egg and the second one is moving toward this two polar nuclei. So that will leads to the formation of endosperm and this zygote will lead to the formation of embryo. Okay, let's move to our next question. The next question is here, the body of the ovule is fused within the funicle at. The body of the ovule is fused with the funicle at. So, the question is based on NCERT section 1.2.2 asked in year 2020 in the NEET examination. Let us see the option: A. Micropyle, B. Nucellus, C. Chalaza, and D. Hilum. So that part in which the stalk-like structure fused with the main body of the ovule. So you can solve this question and then we can check out the correct answer. Let's move to the answer part of this question. The body of the ovule is fused with the funicle. Funicle is a stalk-like structure. Funicle is the stalk-like structure. It is like this, the ovule. So this is the stalk-like structure that is called as funicle, right? And this is the main body of the ovule. So at this point, the body of the ovule is attached with the funicle. So that part is called as option D, hilum. That part is called as hilum. Let us see the explanation part. The attachment point of the funicle is a stalk-like structure, and body of the ovule is known as hilum. Hilum is a scar or a mark left on the seed coat by the former attachment of the ovary wall or to the funicle, which in turn attach to the ovary wall. A hilum can also be a nucleus of a starch grain at the point where the around which the layers of the starch get deposited. So at this point also, at hilum, the starch granules get deposited, right? Next question. The term used for the transfer of pollen grain from anther of one plant to the stigma of a different plant, which during pollination brings genetically different types of pollen grains to the stigma, is. The question is based on NCERT section 1.2.3 asked in year 2021. Options are as follows: A. Clistogamy, B. Xenogamy, C. Geitonogamy, and D. Chesmogamy. So you can solve this question in the given time and then we can check out the correct answer. Let's see the answer. So this was the question. The term used for the transfer of pollen grain from the anther of one plant to the stigma of different plant during the pollination. So what is that? Option B, xenogamy or cross pollination, right? Xenogamy refers to the transfer to the pollen grains from anther of one plant to the stigma of a different plant, which during pollination bring genetically different types of pollen grain to the stigma, right? So clistogamy. Now there is an explanation of the other thing also, other option. Clistogamy is a type of automatic self-pollination of a certain plant that can propagate by using non-opening self-pollinating flower. So in the case of clistogamy, the flower do not get open. So what type of pollination they are favoring? They are favoring the self-pollination, right? Geitonogamy refers to the transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma of another flower of the same plant. So there will not be any genetic exchange, right? And chesmogamy is a condition in which flower remains open. So here you can see xenogamy. Two plants are there, plant A and plant B. So transfers of pollen grain are taking place between the two different flowers on the two different plant. And here you can say in the geitonogamy, the two flowers are present on the same plant and there the pollination is taking place. So this is a type of self-pollination only, right? But though it is called as cross-pollination. Next question. A typical angiosperm embryo sac at maturity is asked in year 2021. So options are as follows. A, 8 nucleate and 8 celled. B, 8 nucleate and 7 celled. C, 7 nucleate and 8 celled. And D, 7 nucleate and 7 celled. So which one is correct? In the given time, you can check about the correct answer and then we will see which option is correct. So let us see the correct answer. A typical angiosperm embryo sac at maturity is 8 nucleate and 7 cell structure. Option B, right? So the embryo sac of the angiosperm consists of 7 cells. It is having 7 cells. A typical angiosperm embryo at maturity is called as the 7-celled and 8 nucleate. The cells are arranged in 3 sets. In the center, there are 2 polar nuclei, right? In the central cell, 2 polar nuclei are there and a part of the large central cell. The polar nuclei are present in the center of the cell. The polar nuclei are not separated by any membrane. There are two end of the, now one of the end is called as the chalazal end. There is two end, micropylar and chalazal end. Now at the chalazal end, 3 antipodal cells are there and other end is called as the micropylar end where 1 egg and the 2 synergid cells are there. So here you can see micropylar end and the chalazal end. At the chalazal end, you can see the 3 antipodal cells are there, right? And at the micropylar end, 2 synergid and 1 egg cell are there. So this is totally combined structure that is called as, okay. So this is this egg and synergid. It is compact structure, very compact. And that is why it is called as egg apparatus, right? And in the central cell, here you can see the 2 polar nuclei there. So total 7-celled and 8 nucleate structure is it. Next question. Identify the incorrect statement related to the pollination. This question is based on the NCERT section 1.2.3. Asked in year 2022. Options are as follows. A. Pollination by wind is more common among the abiotic pollination. B. Flowers produce foul odors to attract flies and beetles to get pollinated. C. Moths and the butterflies are the most dominant pollinating agent among the insects. And option D. Pollination by water is quite rare in flowering plants. So you have to tell the incorrect statement, right? So you can check about the correct answer in the given time and then we will see which of the option is correct one. Let's see the answer. So this was our question. And the correct answer is option C is incorrect. See, moth and butterfly. Though moth and butterfly are involved, but this is not the major type of insect that are involved in the pollination, right? Among the insects. So, along with the moth and butterfly, bees are there. Bees are the most common pollinating agent, right? So that is why the option C becomes incorrect. Next question. Given below are the two statements. Clistogamous flowers are invariably autogamous. Statement 2. Clistogamy is disadvantageous as there is no chance for the cross-pollination. In the light of the above statements, choose the correct answer from the options given below. This question is based on the section NCERT 1.2.3 asked in year 2022. Option are as follows. Both statement first and second are incorrect. Statement first is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. Statement 1 is incorrect, but the statement 2 is correct. And D, both statement first and second are correct. So you can solve this question and then we will see the correct answer. Let's see the correct answer. So this was our question and the correct answer is D. Both the statement are correct. See, clistogamous flowers are invariably autogamous. Autogamous is always there, right? Autogamy means self-pollination because the flower is not opening. Yes, but this is disadvantageous. Self-pollination is a disadvantageous. Why? Because there is no chance for the cross-pollination. And if there is a cross-pollination, then there will be variation. And that is beneficial for the plant, right? So this is one of the disadvantages. Autogamy is a disadvantage. And that's why the plant adapt different mechanism to avoid the self-pollination, right? So that is why this D statement, D1, both the statement first and second are correct. Let us see the explanation part. Clistogamy is a phenomenon where the flowers never open, and in such flower, only self-pollination occur within the bud, unopened flower. Bisexual flower which do not open at all are called clistogamous. In such flower, anther and stigma lie close to each other. So that leads to the process of pollination. And when the anther dies, the flower buds pollen comes in contact with the stigma and the pollination occur. So there is no chance of cross-pollination in this type of flower. Therefore, both the statement are true. And this is one of the figure of the flower that is having the clistogamous flower, Commelina. Next question, very important. Which part of the fruit labeled in the given figure makes it a false fruit? NCERT section 1.4.3, and question came in the year 2022. Options are as follows: A, B, endocarp, C, thalamus, D, seeds, and D option, A, mesocarp. So you can think about the correct answer and then we will see which of the option is correct one. Let's see the correct answer. So which part of the fruit labeled given makes it a false fruit? So option B is correct. C. The C part is the thalamus. And the true fruits are made by the ovary, whereas the false fruit are made by the thalamus, like the other part of the flower, that is a part of ovary. So in few species such as apple, strawberry, cashew, thalamus contribute to the fruit formation, and these fruits are known as false fruit. So here you can see this is the thalamus, this is the seed, this is the endocarp. Here you can see the endocarp, then there is a mesocarp, right? And then the exocarp or the pericarp. But this is the skin. The outer covering of the thalamus is called as the skin, right? So the ovary is embedded inside the thalamus. Next question. Large, colorful, fragrant flowers and the nectar are seen in. Question based on the section NCERT section 1.2.3 asked in year 2023. Options are as follows: A, insect pollinated plants, B, bird pollinated plants, C, bat pollinated plants, and D, wind pollinated plants. So you can think about the correct answer and then we will see the correct option. Let us see the correct answer. So large, colorful, fragrant flowers with nectar are seen in. Option A, insect pollinated plants. So they are having the large size flower, colorful. They are having the fragrant to attract insects, and they provide nectar to the insects also. So majority of insect pollinated are large size. Their flowers are colorful, possesses fragrance and attract insects. Next question. What is the function of tassels in the corn cob? A, to attract insects, B, to trap pollen grains, C, to disperse pollen grains, and D, to protect seeds. This question is asked in year 2023. You can think about the correct answer and then we will see the correct option. Let's move to the answer, which is the function of tassel in the corn cob. Corn cob means in the maize plant. So, to trap pollen grains. So, tassel in the corn cob represent the stigma and the style which wave in the wind to trap the pollen grain. Next question. In angiosperm, the haploid, diploid and the triploid structure of a fertilized embryo sac sequentially are options: A. Synergid, primary endosperm, nucleus and zygote. B. Antipodal, synergids and the primary endosperm nucleus. C. Synergid, zygote and the primary endosperm nucleus. And option D. Synergids, antipodals and the polar nuclei. This question is asked in year 2023. So, you can solve this question and then we will see the correct answer. Let's move to the correct answer. This was our question. And option C is the correct one. Synergid is haploid, diploid is zygote and the triploid is the primary endosperm nucleus. So the primary endosperm nucleus followed by the fusion of diploid secondary nucleus with the male gamete. Therefore, it is triploid structure. Digote is formed by the fusion of the two gametes, male and female, and that is why it is diploid. Synergid are the cells of the gametophyte and hence they are haploid structure. Next question. Identify the set of correct statement. The flowers of Vallisneria are colorful and produce nectar. A. B. The flowers of water lily are not pollinated by water. C. In most of the water pollinated species, the pollen grains are protected from wetting. D. Pollen grains of some hydrophytes are long and ribbon-like. E. In some hydrophytes, the pollen grains are carried passively inside the water. So choose the correct answer from the options given below. Question asked in year 2024. Options are C, D and E only. B, A, B, C and D only. Option C, A, C, D and E only, and D is B, C, D and E only. So you can think about the correct answer and then we will see the correct option. Let's see the correct answer. So this was our question. And the correct answer is option D, means B, C, D and E are correct. See the A statement, the flowers of Vallisneria are colorful and produce nectar. No, this Vallisneria is an aquatic plant. It gets pollinated by the water. So why to have this colorful flower and produce nectar? So a flower of Vallisneria is pollinated by water. So they are not colorful and do not produce any nectar. The last question. Identify the correct description about the given figure. The figure is given. You have to choose that option that is describing this figure, right? Options. Wind pollinated plant inflorescence showing the flower with well exposed stamens. B. Water pollinated flower showing the stamen with the mucilaginous covering. C. Clistogamous flower showing autogamy. And D. Compact inflorescence showing the complete autogamy. So you can solve this question and then we can check out the correct answer. So let's see the answer. So this was our question. And the correct answer is option A. Wind pollinated flower plant inflorescence showing flower with well exposed stamens. So these are the stamens and they are well exposed so that the water, with the help of air current, the pollen grains could be carried away, right? So the depicted diagram show the wind pollinated plant showing the flower with well exposed stamen, and stamens are exposed to assist pollination by the wind. So this is all about today's session. Thank you very much for attending today's session.